on the wall. Mandy, would you take a roll call, please?
Kent Miller,
Here.
Bob Richard,
Here.
Charlene Abel,
Here.
Matt Audie,
Here.
Rick Brown,
Here.
Tony Giegler,
Here.
Robert Peterson,
Yep.
Lloyd Luttrell.
Present. Thank you. If you'd stand for the invocation and please. Heavenly Father, be with us this evening as we conduct the business of our city. Give us the wisdom that we need to make the proper decisions that's the best for our community. Thank you for the abundant rain that we have received, and we will continue to take more as you provided. Be with our country as we work through issues throughout it, and be with our military and our law enforcement as they protect our great nation. In your name we pray. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Lloyd, do you have anything at this time?
I do. I had a citizens complain about the trees in Chautauqua Park. They're walking down there and I was wondering about the dead limbs. Some of them are pretty good size. I went down and looked. Whether they're safe or not, that you're walking under.
Okay. Probably a valid point.
And I was gonna ask, are we going to have an evaluation for Glenn?
Yeah, I think we're gonna plan on doing it next month.
Okay. Thank you.
Matt?
Yeah, I got a prepared statement I'd like to read. The Mitchell County Attorney on Monday was reported in the Beloit Call to have issued a 3-page legal opinion on the validity of recent actions taken by the Beloit City Planning Commission. In that same article, it was reported apparently by Mr. Noah himself that he had not yet received any written copies of ordinance or bylaws which govern the actions of the Beloit City Planning Commission. Therefore, I did not put much weight in his legal opinion. On the topic of the belief or rumor going around the city that the city is wanting to annex a 3-mile radius surrounding the current city limits of Beloit, I can say with certainty that this is a complete misinterpretation of the plans of the city. We have already had an extra jurisdictional zoning put on the books since the passage of Ordinance 2049 on July 9th of 2008, which does extend out in a 3-mile radius from the current city limits. However, this does not mean that people who reside in the area which lays outside the city limits and within the 3-mile zone of influence, that they must obey all city ordinances, nor must they be required to pay city taxes. What this means simply is that if you live in this zone of influence and want to change the form of business that you are currently operating from an agricultural operation to either a strictly residential, commercial, or industrial form of business, the city of Beloit needs to be consulted by running it by our city planning commission to see if it is compatible with our plans for the growth of the city of Beloit. I know many local farmers have expressed their disagreement with the idea of having any new regulations thrust upon them, and I do get that. But I am also an elected representative of the citizens of Beloit, as you all are, and we need to look out for the best interests of the city. And I know that based on the city plan that we have had in place since the 1950s, a plan which gets updated every 10 years or so, in this case, it's been more than 10 years, it does bring big dollars into Beloit. Because of this updating process that we are currently engaged in, we have received favorable scoring on one federal housing grant application, which just this last year brought in $400,000 directly to Beloit businesses, and also positioned us to stand in a very good chance to get yet another $500,000 grant from another upcoming federal housing grant. If we do away with city planning, we lose our competitive edge in getting these housing grant dollars based on how the feds score grant awards. These are dollars which directly support local construction jobs, build new homes of which the new owners will then pay property tax and relieve the tax burden on the rest of us. And they help us replace dilapidated old homes, which relieves the pressure on the city to grow outside of its current limits. For me to vote against the city planning process and leave nearly $1 million out of the local economy is nuts. And I have yet to hear an argument that outweighs the considerable consequences of not going forward with updating the city plan. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Charlene, do you have anything at this time?
I just want to thank the transportation department for picking up all the limbs from the last 2 storms, and they did a real good job.
They do a great job.
Yeah, they do.
Ken?
Thanks to the 4-H'ers and the fair board for having an excellent fair. I think it went really well.
They do a nice job there, sure. Rick?
Well, my opinion on this whole zoning deal or whatever is, I think you guys are starting a fire you probably ain't gonna be able to put out. It's turning the community against each other and everything. I think we ought to drop it and move on. We ought to start working on the infrastructure we got right now. Worry about that instead of worrying about what the hell's going on in the country. It's my personal opinion. Because I see housing gonna get built here one of these days. And in 10, 15 years, you're gonna be tearing down other houses. You got over 200 houses sitting empty in this town. Why, who cares what goes on out in the country? It's time to move on. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Rick. Bob?
Don't agree. Matt, great statement. I've got some notes I made. I don't have a written statement, but I got some things I want to cover. First of all, is the intimidation of our head of our planning commission. It's pretty bad when a person volunteers his time, and then a group of uninformed, mostly radical people intimidate him so bad that he gives up the job that he's volunteered to do free gratis for, what, 6, 7 years? It's just not right. And so, you know, now we're gonna have trouble getting people. The next thing I have is, with Mr. Clausen. His name was in the paper, that's why I mentioned it. He stuck his nose where it didn't belong, and I do not appreciate it one bit. The county has no say in what we do. And he was totally out of line with his statement and getting in the middle of this. And I agree with Matt that this opinion, his opinion is no better than mine. You know, we have a city attorney, and she said we're okay. And then the other thing with Mr. Clausen, to have the audacity to say that we are breaking the law, you know, I don't like that. I think it's time maybe we start sending people to the county commissioners meetings to see what they're doing, because I think there's a lot of things that happen over there. I was just checking with Katie about their open meeting rule. Now, there's 3 commissioners that represent this whole county. Is it in violation if 2 of them get together? Because that's a quorum. And the main thing is, Mr. Clausen's concerned that we don't have a person out there representing us 3 miles. We have 3 county commissioners that represent approximately 6,300 people in this county. 58% of them live in Beloit. We have 1 county commissioner that lives in Beloit. Now, what kind of representation is that? I think we need to look at what Salina's doing and add 2 more commissioners, although it would cost us probably $30,000. But finally, I want to say that, you know, there's been a lot of misinformation. I don't know what people are up in arms about. Matt said it's in place, it's there, so what? But, I mean, I would hope that anyone who takes on a job, whether it's city council, whatever, does not let somebody intimidate them because of the business or anything else. We owe it to the city of Beloit. And like Matt said, we represent the citizens of Beloit. And that's what we're here for. So I said my piece. And that's it.
Thank you, Bob. Tony?
Well, I guess, we're talking about it, so let's. There's a lot of good things in that comprehensive plan. There is. But I believe we need to back away from the 3-mile zoning business. A lot of people ain't happy with it. It's gonna cost the businesses and the citizens of Beloit a considerable amount, because they'll walk and go elsewhere for their goods and services, be it inside this. They're gonna walk. They're gonna take their business elsewhere. I fully believe that they will. So, I mean, I have yet to see somebody please tell me where the real benefit is to the city. I'm willing, please tell me. I'm seeing the downside to all this. I have yet to see the upside. Please tell me. I'm not trying to be honoring, but
Can I answer that?
please.
We got $400,000 in grant funding based on our scoring on federal housing grant.
Right, that's a wonderful thing. Does that have to?
That's what's come from the city planning process.
Does that have to include the 3-mile zoning outside?
That's,
Can we delete that portion and keep
that's
the
already
rest?
been on the books for quite some time now, and it's being brought up now for whatever reason the way I hear it being brought up is that we're trying to annex 3 miles outside the city, just like this big blob that the city's just gonna go out and go 3 miles. That's not the case. We've already got this zoning that was passed in 2008 that says we can zone that. It's people twisting what they're hearing and going off on fears that I don't think they fully know what they're talking about.
Tom, could I interject something?
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know if people realize, we have several businesses that are outside the city limits. They're right on the line. Those businesses pay no city taxes. They don't collect any sales tax for our streets, our swimming pool, whatever. So, is that fair? I don't think so. And another thing about that is I found out yesterday that those people are getting police protection. And as far as I'm concerned, that's gonna stop, because they're not the city limits.
Well, we're talking 2 different things here. That's annexation versus.
Yeah, but anyway, that's just, when we're talking about the 3 mile thing, that's.
Okay. Bob?
Well, the only thing I got on that, what you talked about, these people, I was on the fire department, I was fire chief for 3 years, and we're obligated to go so far out for fire protection. And when we go out, I don't know how many of you people in this room remember the fire out here at Shamburg's station. We went out and fought that fire until the rural fire department come in, and we allowed them to get set up. And the fire chief expressed his views that he'd like to say, have the city fire department stay and on as prime firefighting deal, and that's what we did with his request. And Mr. Schamberg and Schamberg people outside the city limits appreciate it very much.
Well, do they pay for that?
Huh?
Yes.
Do they have to pay for that?
Yes,
don't they?
yep.
And we have mutual aid with the rural fire departments that they can request our
And that's a
assistance.
good deal, I have a problem.
You know, because all they gotta do is ask, and Chief Rugg or Chief Miller, it's just a Chief Miller or whoever, will dispatch X amount of firemen and equipment to assist with fires.
Well, one thing
So
about
that's
the
it.
rural fire department and the city fire department get along real good.
Yeah. And that's nice to have for, okay, thank you. Katie?
Yes, a couple things. First of all, with regard to the agreement that you just got tonight with the school district, I apologize for just getting that to you tonight. Jim Johnson, the school board attorney, and I put that together rather quickly on Friday, and we're still working on it as of yesterday, so you're seeing it in final form, but I do apologize for that. It's very short, so hopefully you can skim through it when we get to that point. As far as a previous meeting, I indicated that I would be able to write up in the paper as far as dog complaints. That is still on my to-do list. I promise I haven't forgotten. I will get to that. I do have a short statement with regard to, I'm just responding to Mr. Noah's statement that was faxed to me on Sunday evening, the same time it was faxed to the press. I did not attend the county commission meeting. As a matter of fact, I was working on the school board agreement, which I thought was a little more important for the purposes of tonight. But I do have a short statement. As the city attorney, I will state that I respectfully disagree with the county attorney's statements and opinions in regard to the Beloit City Planning Commission. I disagree with the assertion that actions taken by the City Planning Commission are invalid and illegal. The City Planning Commission can conduct business and take action at meetings with a vacant seat, much as the same as a county commission or city council can conduct business with a vacant seat. Yesterday, I discussed this matter at length with the attorneys from the League of Kansas Municipalities. I'm sure all of you are familiar with the league, but they are staffed with many different attorneys who I consider experts on municipal law. They know those statutes in and out. And whenever I, have an opinion, I just want to run it by somebody, I always call them, and they're super helpful. So I did that yesterday, and I actually had 2 different attorneys there working on these issues with me. They are in agreement that actions taken with only 4 members are neither invalid nor illegal. I am still researching state law, ordinances, and meeting minutes in regard to the history of actions taken which affect the Planning Commission. I will continue to consult with the League of Kansas Municipalities if needed. I will issue a written memorandum to the City Council at the next meeting. These are city issues. In conjunction with city staff as the city attorney, I will continue to appropriately address these issues. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Glenn.
Couple of things. One is we have Chief Elam here tonight, and he'd like to introduce a couple of new members of the police department. So we'll like to start off with that. Chief, if you'd like to introduction.
My bad. I forgot to get it on with the budgets and everything that was going on and all the planning commission meetings. We got a couple of new guys, Jay Davis and Scott Davies. They both have been with us before. My bad. I dropped the ball on that, so everybody, it's them, but I just want to let y'all know. Thanks.
Up back and ask me, okay?
Yeah.
Keep up the good work.
All right, two familiar faces there. Couple other things to cover real quick here. I did meet with the Chamber of Commerce last week and talk about downtown parking. I did a little research on that. We had been addressed or had a question about possibly going back to 2-hour parking downtown, if you remember. And I did find that actually in the 80s, from 1983, 1987, apparently we did have 2-hour parking downtown Beloit. And it was abandoned in 1987. I'm not sure why that was done, but I'm sure there's minutes that reflect that. I just found the ordinances that just established it, and then 5 years later took it out. So obviously this has been tried before. The members who attended the Chamber of Commerce meeting said that they were sympathetic to businesses downtown, but they had not heard any other complaints except for the 2 stores downtown. So they weren't recommending that the city go forward from their point of view and do anything at this point. Maybe if something happens later on and there's more complaints to the chamber, to the city, they would support doing limited time parking. But so from their perspective, they didn't see any reason to go ahead with that at this time. So I don't know if we want to pursue that any further or not, but just to let you know that I did talk with the Chamber of Commerce on that. On the water quality issue we've been talking about, we had a nice presentation at the last meeting from Schwab Eaton, and they should be getting us a contract here probably at the next meeting in September to move forward with some of the testing that we talked about under that. We still have not got anything from Kyle Railroad for the state on the railroad crossings yet. They remember they were supposed to come in and do something here temporarily, and we're gonna help them out. Talking with Transportation Director, we had not heard from them as of yesterday on either one of those fronts. But we still want to get something done on that here this year because those tracks are seem to get rougher every time I go over them. We did hear from the rock crushing guy that we've been had a contract with here all this summer, and he is promising to be here by the end of this month. So
Glenn, if he's not here by the end of the month, this has been on for almost a year.
Right.
Forget it.
Right. And he's aware of that. He's actually pulling off another job to come here and do this.
We've let it go too long.
Yeah. So anyway, we'll get the rock moved or crushed either way. And as Katie said, we're working on the next K-14 project, which is a grant project under the KDOT, and we're actually getting some easements for that program even as we speak here. So anyway, that's all I can remember kind of going on right now. The other thing I'd like to cover under the report is our annual audit. We do have Jay Langley here from Kluban Rattel, and they are a firm that audits the city every year, so you have that annual audit in front of you. I don't know if there's any questions or anything you want to present here tonight, Jay, to the council addressing the annual audit.
Jay, you have anything that you want to bring to our attention?
I sure do. Is it okay if I switch?
Yes.
I'd just like to always visit with you a little bit so that you can see that we do come, we do look at several things while we're here. I like to walk through the audit report with the city council so that you're familiar with the document. It's something that you can use throughout the year, refer back to when you make your decisions or if citizens ask you questions. I would like to just go through it briefly and then I'll make some comments on this year's audit, specifically on things that we saw and then also recommendations. The first page that's in the audit report is our opinion, and I'd just like to mention that there's actually 3 opinions on this page. The first one has to do with general accepted accounting principles. That requires you to keep fixed asset accounting and also be on the accrual basis of the accounting. And at one time, the city of Beloit did do GAAP-based financial statements. Those are usually more expensive and more involved and less useful to the city council because of the accrual basis. But most cities do it on what's a statutory basis of accounting prescribed by the state of Kansas. That is the way that you've elected to do that for many years now, and that's the way that we audit your city records, is based on that basis of accounting. The first opinion was based on GAAP accounting, and we just make it very clear in that opinion that you are not doing GAAP-based accounting. That's for your bond holders and anyone else who reads it, and that if you were, it would be an adverse opinion for the 2 things that basically I mentioned, fixed asset accounting and accrual basis. The second opinion is based on our, and that's right at the end of the first page and the very beginning of the second page, has to do with our opinion on the records as we saw them when we came in to do the audit. And that is a unqualified opinion or a clean opinion that states, based on the KMA audit guidelines and statutory basis, that it reflects fairly the activity for the year and the balances of the funds. This also includes the Beloit Library, and that's also included in the audit report. Going on to page 3, they've changed the audit reports over the years. It used to be we had several statements, but they've got it down to where if this is the one statement, they feel like it's the most important statement there is for a city council and a citizen to look at. This reflects all the funds that are under your control and that you make decisions on a daily basis. As you look at that, that gives you the beginning unencumbered cash balance, your receipts for the year, your expenditures for the year, and a thing called unencumbered cash balance. And that is your cash that you have available to you, and that's taking into consideration purchase orders that are outstanding or encumbrances. So you can see that your unencumbered cash balance at the beginning of the year for the government portion, not including the library, was $2,559,000. At the end of the year, that grew to $3,058,276. If you add back in the encumbrances that we found, then you actually had $3.5 million that was in the bank accounts and your investments. This shows all the individual funds, and after the footnotes, each one of those funds is shown separately. And you can look at each one of those if you want to see what a utility fund did or what an employee benefit fund did. You can, based on the index, you can go to those and look at the details. Compares it to the prior year and your budget. You'll notice that there's no negative figures on the far right-hand column. That reflects the fact that you did not have any cash basis violations. Several things the state looks for, that's one of them. The other one is a budget violation. We'll talk about that in a minute. Following that statement 1, you have all of our footnotes. And we go through several things as far as the basis of accounting, any litigation that might be going on or resolved during the year. We talk about the budget that you adopt. We do talk on page 6
about your security deposits on the money that you have. It's very important for us to make sure that you are fully secured throughout the year. That footnote states that during the year, the city's money was fully secured, and the next to the last paragraph, was fully secured throughout the year. However, the library was unsecured for a period of from December 31st through January 30th of 2014. This was resolved, but the bank should watch those, but the city also should watch to make sure that you're always secured. That has been resolved, and you are fully secured at that point on that library now. Things that we noticed in the audit this year that we wanted to comment on is that there are certain things, even though they're immaterial, that we are required to comment on. And so we commented on 2 items that are considered significant deficiencies. However, one is something that most cities have anyway, and that is you rely on us as an outside CPA to prepare this document. Some cities, some school districts have an internal accountant or CPA who prepares these. They hand it to us, we audit it, and give an opinion. This is no different than any of the other cities that we audit. We only have one school district that actually is large enough to have a CPA or an accountant on the staff that can do this. So this is a normal thing that we are required to just disclose that to you, that we do prepare the statements that you're seeing along with giving your opinion. They are from your information that the staff records, and when we are done, we give them a draft, they review it and sign off that they accept it, and it agrees with their records. So that does provide a degree of independence there. The other thing that rises to the fact of a significant deficiency is we have a situation that even though it's immaterial, the city reconciles their bank accounts every month to the fund statements. However, and then this is checked by an outside accountant monthly, there seems to be continually unresolved variances. And we're just saying that this is something that's important, that should be, some attention should be given to find out why those are coming about. Sometimes when it's something that you can't find, it could be a software problem. It could be something that some of your software may round, something like utility billing or something like that. We don't know, but I think it's important enough for us to find out why it is that the fund register that you see and the bank reconciliations are continuing to have some type of variance. Again, this is very immaterial, but it's something that rises to the fact that we're required to tell you that this is an important internal control that we think should be followed. Other matters that we made recommendations on have to do with the state treasurer is very picky about the fact that if you have bonds, your payment for the principal and the interest has to be in their office 20 days before it's due. I believe that's the number of days, but I think it's 20. And if that's in the mail, a lot of cities will mail it 20 days ahead of time, but if it's not in their office, they send us a letter and say that you were not in compliance with your bond regulations. And there was an instance that happened, and normally you've sent it in time, but because of the mail, and sometimes the mail is running later than it used to, so it's important to get those plenty ahead of time so that you don't have those violations. We noticed the same situation on some lease payments, lease obligations. It appears that some of those payments were sent after the due date. There were no late fees incurred, so the city didn't suffer for anything, but it's important to follow those due dates. Tonight I gave Mandy a credit card policy. As far as we're aware of, the city has never adopted a credit card policy. You have credit cards that you use or the staff uses and employees are allowed to use. It's important to have a policy in place that lets them know what the obligations they're accepting by using those cards. One of those obligations is to make sure they're turning in a receipt. Actually, we're recommending they sign a paper when they're issued a credit card at some point that says, if I don't reconcile this and bring a receipt, I realize I may personally be responsible for whatever I charged. That encourages them to bring that receipt back. We found multiple issues of some small receipts, again, immaterial, but more than one situation where those receipts weren't turned in to reconcile with the credit card statement. So that's kind of an important item also. Mandy said that she'll review that, make any changes that she needs to do as far as presenting that to you, and she might present it to you at the next meeting. There was one bank overdraft in your health insurance checking account, so we just stress it's important